My name is Emily Hargrove, and I am NSSGA's Director of Occupational Safety and Health. I'm the host of the podcast Safety Shorts. Each episode will just be 3 to 5 minutes long, hopefully the perfect bite-sized portion so you always have time for an episode. Whether it's tuning in for a toolbox talk or just tuning in to see what's new and reflect on safety. Hi, I'm Emily Hargrove, Director of Occupational Health and Safety for NSSGA. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Safety Shorts. As we wind down the year, it is natural to look back and reflect on what went right and what went wrong in our lives. Similarly, in safety and health, we are often looking back, trying to determine what went right or wrong after things occur. Much of the focus is reactionary, addressing problems after they happen. So how do we help shift that focus from look back to look forward? Prevention. With me today to talk about just that is Robin Markussen, Director of Occupational Health and Systems at Heidelberg Materials. Robin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Emily. It's great to be here to participate in Safety Shorts. I appreciate you having me.
So tell me, how do you think we can work to make this shift from reaction to proactive, lagging to leading?
Well, Emily, as we all know, there are many aspects at play in the management of health and safety risks. One of my favorite risk management adages is from Tom Gill, which is, if you do not actively attack the risks, they will actively attack you. He was first a systems engineer for IBM and is now a consultant and author. He was referring to systems risks, but the statement for me is true also for workplace health and safety risks. Before working in the mining world, I spent a couple of decades or so in the oil and gas industry. I was fortunate to work under some really wonderful health and safety mentors who were strong ambassadors of risk evaluation and control. And like many industries, the health and safety lessons for the oil and gas industry are written in blood. And one of the first such events any new health and safety professional learns about in the oil and gas industry is the tragedy of the Piper Alpha oil platform. This structure was located in the North Sea, about 120 miles offshore from Scotland. In 1988, multiple failures in control of risks, including preventative maintenance of critical equipment, proper equipment isolation, and lack of clear operational communication, led to an explosion. The entire event was prolonged and worsened by actions taken and then not taken, and the platform eventually collapsed under the effect of sustained jet fire. So 165 of the men on board perished. 30 of those bodies were never recovered, as well as a further 2 rescuers. Only 61 workers escaped and survived, although many with severe injuries. An in-depth examination and inquiry into all that went wrong was conducted by the UK authorities, and many recommendations for regulations and best practices were the product of that hard work. And one of the most notable regulatory requirements that emerged was the mandatory development of a safety case for oil and gas operations.
Safety case, is that the title of the regulation?
Well, yes and no. There's a formal regulatory title for the standard, but the safety case is a process that includes a thorough review of the activities or operation, identification of the work area tasks, and the equipment present, qualifying the hazards and associated risks with work performance, and then ensuring that the control measures are in place and are adequate for the level of risk. So what this looked like to us involved in the safety case development was about 6 months of dedication. We started with a compartment survey or area survey where we went to each workspace to identify all the activity and equipment risk present, like moving machinery, electrical equipment, potential fire risks, potential chemical exposures, etc. Then we needed to identify each hazard associated with equipment or process, the consequences of not controlling those hazards, and then finally quantifying the risk. And then we further spent time reviewing the required responses to potential incidents such as fire extinguishers, fault prevention, etc., and even emergency escape. This was done for every compartment or every area on the platform or within the operation. And then what would follow finally was a detailed documentation of all the risk evaluations and confirmation of needed systems, equipment, procedures, or other controls to close those gaps. The process of the case itself is long and detailed, but the proactive journey it takes you on when evaluating risk can be applied on a small scale anytime for any workplace or operation. You just first identify what you have in the area and the work being done. Next, note the hazards and consequences, being sure to confirm that all equipment and tools are in proper working order. And then finally, making changes to close the gaps. So the safety case is not just a documented hazard identification exercise, but ultimately a proactive and evidence-based approach to safety management in the process industries. So for me, the lessons of developing a safety case demonstrated a thorough approach to any risk assessment, whether it's a large operation conducted by a team of engineers or a dynamic pre-job risk review by a team or individual workers at a quarry. So in general, focusing on all aspects of risk early on and actively making a case for the safety of your operation, project, or task leaves less chance that you will need to react to an unfortunate event.
Thank you so much, Robin. And I love how you put it, making a safety case. It isn't just a document, it's a mindset. And I think it's such an important takeaway is that this process is not only for large companies or huge operational issues. It can be used by anyone for any task or for any project.
I agree. In our industry, we have many processes that we can reach the same goals. We simply need to apply them for their value.
Thank you again for being here. And to our listeners, thank you for hitting play today. Until next time, stay safe and happy holidays.
Thanks, Emily.